Okay, yeah. It certainly does look a lot lighter there on the satellite picture,
I'll
so
be
that's
covering
good.
this more.
He'll be covering that shortly. Certainly Vanuatu and Fiji and even Newcastle are looking better. I wouldn't want to be going to Samoa today, but apart from you guys and Tonga, it's not looking too bad. I might as well get started. Good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David. And we have it's the 3rd of July, as you probably know, Wednesday. And we have quite a warm morning here, 17 degrees, because we're getting some winds from your direction, 10 knots from the northeast at the moment, 1027.3 steady. It's sort of been pulsing a bit, but definitely the high is moving off. It's a flat barometer at the moment, but I guess it's going to be dropping a bit, and we are expecting some fairly unpleasant weather later when the fronts arrive. So that's the situation from here. I'll just, seeing as we're talking about what it was like at Minerva, 20 knots at northeast with the high tide at the moment, a bit rolling. Valak have reported in from up there in Savu, east-northeast 1 to 3. So a bit of a difference, 1015.7, 80% cumulus cloud. And they talk of, they've been to the market, and apart from all the lovely usual things, they talked about calamansis. I have not heard of what a calamansis is, but there's kiwi fruit, and not kiwi fruit, bananas, passion fruit, eggplant, pineapples, and so on and so forth. But the calamansis, I'll have to look that one up.
Raspberries in this.
Oh, David is missing the raspberries. The raspberries that we get about now, actually, in Vanuatu, they're wild raspberries. They're absolutely delicious. All right, let's have a little bit of news. By the way, there are 2 new articles in the Flotsam part of the website. The way I've arranged our website, which is ghradio.co.nz, we have all of the weather-related things in one section. All of the radio and communications of stuff is in another section. But then there is a section called Flotsam, which is sort of a catch-all for anything that does not fit into weather or radio and comms. So in the Flotsam, there is 2 more items of interest. One that covers all of the information that has come in from mostly Messatroy and Alysham about checking into Alysham. Alysham in Vanuatu, the bottommost island, Anatom, if you've got French charts. It goes through the process and tells you what the costs are to go in there, and also Port Vila, although they do seem to be a little bit varied, and also covers the costs of going up to Mount Yasur in Tanna. So that's a new article there. Thank you muchly to Messatroy and Alysham. And the other article won't bother you at the moment, but it was generated by Eagle's Wings, who had to go through the process of getting a visa extension in New Zealand. And this is a good reminder to folks that if you don't want to have to bother with that, don't come too early, because you get 3 months on arrival and then another 3 months. And then after that, you have to go through the process of a visa extension. That's all free, by the way. So if you don't want to bother with that, don't come too early, because you won't be leaving too early. April this year and last year, in fact, the end of April was quite good. But if you, for some reason, get a bit delayed, then you don't want to have to add the hassle of a visa extension. But if you do, then this is the process for going about it, and I have put that in the Flotsam section, because you have to deal with the immigration website, and I tell you, I had to resort to ringing them up to find out how to even start the process. It is not very clear. But anyway, that's all there, and you just put that in the back of your mind for next year in case you ever have to look at it. Thought I would go through a little bit of New Zealand news today, because we've got quite a few Kiwis out there. There is a battle started between the 4 major banks. These are all Aussie owned, our major banks. They make an absolute fortune in New Zealand and take it on home. But anyway, The Labour government has proposed capital changes. The Reserve Bank is proposing to lift the amount of risk-weighted capital that retail banks hold. It's currently 8.5%, and they want to raise it to 16%. Of course, the banks oppose this and maintain it will mean higher interest rates for borrowers, lower rates for savers, and they're only about 3% at the moment, which reminds me I need to do something about that someday. And anyway, the GDP will be affected, the growth of the nation, they reckon. Well, of course, a lot of other people would be quite happy if they sold off some of the vast holdings that they have and take the profits home. So it will be an interesting situation. A lot of people think it's scaremongering and that they really won't do anything about it because where else would they put their money that is as secure as it is in New Zealand? But anyway, it will be a good stoush between the big banks and our Labour-led government. At the other end of the scale, McDonald's is adding 15 new outlets. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it just sort of struck me as funny because we've got all of these articles in the paper now about how to eat better because we're all overweight, evidently. And here we have McDonald's with 15 new outlets in New Zealand. These cost $2.2 million to build and another $2 million to fit out. About 8 of them are going to be in the Auckland area, and I assure you they're not going to be north of the bridge. They will be in the southern part of Auckland, where the mainly native population seems to enjoy Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's. In addition, they're going to do up a lot of their restaurants. About 20 of them will be upgraded with digital menu boards, self-service kiosks for those who cannot make themselves understood at the counter. That includes David, actually. And 2-lane drive-thrus. So quite an investment from McDonald's in the country. What is interesting from a scientific point of view is a huge kauri log was found in Northland, about 8 metres long it is. 8 metres down. It's actually quite long. I can't remember how long it is, but it's a long one. They're digging for a new geothermal power station near Kaikohe. It's the only tree ever found that was alive during the mysterious shift in the world's magnetic field. Now, this was between 41,000 and 42,500 years ago. It's called the Le Champ geomagnetic anomaly, and the Earth's compass just reversed. The north and south magnetic poles switched places, and it took about 200 to 300 years for the pole to that was originally in the north, of course, to just sort of travel clockwise into the southern hemisphere and then swung north again. So this log is quite exciting from a scientific point of view. It's 16 metres long, 60 tonnes of it. So they will look at ring by ring for the magnetic properties and be able to get a closer understanding of this anomaly, which is, of course, quite important if it happens again, because a lot of our communications and satellite stuff, GPS, all of that sort of thing is affected by the Earth's magnetic field. So we will watch that with interest.
It will happen again.
It will happen again?
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Okay, we don't have to worry about it too much, so don't lose sleep over that. The Democrats in the USA, for those back home, are having a really interesting time. Joe Biden is only just ahead now. 2 women, Kamala Harris second and Elizabeth Warren third, they're coming on really strong. They're speaking extremely well. So it looks like there will be a real battle and potentially and very likely a woman nominee to battle Mr. Trump at the next elections. Okay, well, Mr. Trump is still on his trade ploy. He's obviously settled down with China. They're starting new trade talks, but he has moved his concerns to the EU. it seems that the problem with the EU really started with the aircraft subsidies, the old Boeing versus Airbus thing. But he's proposing $4 billion worth of new tariffs on about 89 EU products, including meat, cheese, pasta, fruits, coffee, and whiskey. It's all the food groups.
Pasta.
Pasta, yeah. Can you imagine it?
Pasta.
Wow. So that'll be interesting. Auckland is running out of water, by the way, folks, but don't worry. The reservoirs might be 60% capacity, but our water tanks here at Gulf Harbour are full. So don't worry that we might start to smell, or not that you will be able to smell it, but we'll be able to have good showers, even if they do run out of water. We had a very lean water month in June, but we have caught up rather quickly ourselves. So yeah, it is hard to believe, but everyone has been asked to have showers no more than 4 minutes long, and to not run the water when they clean their teeth, just like cruisers do. We should put out a publication, how to live like a cruiser. Iran have now exceeded the limit imposed on them for low enrichment uranium. They've got 300 kilograms now of what they have actually admitted to, so presumably it will be more. So that's building a little bit there, the problems with Iran and mainly the USA. Meanwhile, in Sydney, they have arrested 3 ISIS men. They had a lot of proof that they were planning an attack on places like embassies, police stations, courts and churches and the like. So those 3 have been caught. Makes you wonder how many more there are around. They certainly have to be on their toes for these guys. And Wimbledon is on at the moment, and on the women's side, there's been a lot of excitement. The second seed woman, this is Osaka from Japan, who's won a couple of major titles. She was ousted yesterday. She was the second seed, and Venus Williams was beaten by a 15-year-old. So, boy, talk about one extreme to the other. So that's Wimbledon, and that's about the news from me today. I haven't got much else, apart from the fact that the US Army have got new summer uniforms, and they are, well, they just look pretty much the same as they always looked, if you ask me. But anyway, they are a sort of a mixture of colours. Looks like they're intending to be more in the sandy areas than they are in the bush. But apart from that, there's not much excitement. And then I read that they were made in China, and David got very upset about that. So it doesn't pay to give him too much news.
I mean, my Vietnam.
All right, hang on a minute.
I was just going to say, my Vietnam jungle clothes they were pretty comfortable, actually. They were mostly cotton. I missed the boots. I should take my boots.
He always talks about not having brought his boots home, but they were probably rotten after being in Vietnam for a year. The material of these things, new uniforms, is a mixture of nylon and cotton, which I was quite surprised at. Okay, is there anyone with anything in particular that you want to cover before we move on to weather?
Right.
Well, not much there. I'll just have a quick look at the streaming. The Mesotroy and Malakula have got a beautiful day, 0 wind, not even one cloud in the sky, 20 degrees. And good morning to Eagle's Wings. They're hoping to leave from Marsden on Friday. That looks a bit sporty on Friday, isn't that, when we looked at very strong southerly winds? But anyway, that's tough. Kuhela is in a boo. He's waiting too. He's thinking of leaving tomorrow. Well, have you looked at the weather, Josh? Anyway, the sun is trying to get through in the Apu, and I think it will have to try a little bit harder. But we'll move on to the weather with David. Here he is.
Good morning. And the synoptic chart for today shows pretty much 3 key features, 3 of them. There's going to be some interesting weather today, so you may want to listen up, especially if you're in Tonga. Anyhow, 2 anticyclones and a complex depression. Those are the 3. Those are the 3 players this morning. The first high is to the east of New Zealand, just past about 170 west. central pressure 1042. This is a big fat high, very strong. Mountain of Air. The second high is just about over Tasmania, not quite, but pretty close. And it's strong at 1032, not quite as big as the first one, but very strong in any case. Now, sandwiched between the highs is our complex depression, and it's shifting very slowly over New Zealand. Now, the low centers are just to the south of the South Island, but they're throwing up four frontal bands, and those bands are just about to move over us as we speak. The first one, which is going to be a warm front, that's just, well, it's pretty much over 90 Mile Beach right now in the North Island. It's the western edge of the North Island, call that 90 Mile Beach. And that is where that warm front is. And we can certainly look out the window here, and we're going to have rain very shortly. By midnight, all of the fronts should be over the country. Now, between New Zealand and Tonga lies a trough. It's curved. It does involve Minerva. Goes on to Tonga, as both those places know. And also, at roughly 25 south and 175 east, there's a very small subtropical low that's developed. Now, the cyclonic flow is clashing with the winds from the high that's to the east, and that is aiding and abetting the trough. It's helping to maintain that trough that we talked about. Now, back to this trough, and listen up for this. It's being forced west. At first, of course, it has drifted east, currently over Tonga, Niue, and down towards Minerva. Now it's starting to slowly reverse course, and it's heading back toward the Lau. So all of you who made your break to the Lau, that were in central Fiji and wanting to get up there to Vanuatu and those areas, you may get a not so nice surprise pretty soon as this trough decides to come back and visit. Now down to the Minervans, who are at the cusp, the rear edge of the trough, if you will. This course reversal is going to put you back under the trough again. We'll see how the day pans out, though. We'll see just how much progress it does make. The winds do look fairly strong today. Once again, GFS shows 27, gust 33. EC is pretty close this time, 28, gust 39. All out of the northeast for the most part, give or take on the direction. UK Met, and I look at UK Met quite a bit, northeast 25 to 30. And UK also shows the trough merging with a front from a low that is to the east of New Zealand. And by lunch, Saturday now, a couple days from now, it's going to lie 25 and 180, this front. Draw a line on the front. It crosses the 25, 180. Then it continues to the northwest onto Fiji. Then it splits a bit, and it sends a band west to New Caledonia and goes right on to Queensland near Hervey Bay. So it's going to be a very long band, if you will. Now by Sunday, the front is going to move east again, and it's going to go back over Minerva. Now, anyway, cloud is also going to affect Tonga and Fiji. So the winds at Minerva at that point look to be about southeast 20 in that range. Now, GFS agrees with UK Met on this, but unfortunately EC is still calling for northeast at that time, but light, about 10 to 15, and a tiny bit west of there on their chart is a lovely bit of sun, and then we get the wind shift to the southeast. So it remains to be seen which of these wind up being correct. So it looks like Sunday, Monday for the Minervans to be able to limp north. Fairly easy trip to Fiji, a little bit tougher going to Tonga due to the wind angle at that point, but we'll have to see. This can certainly change. So stay tuned for developments on that. And for those of you that are in fact Tonga bound and hear this, you may regret, I'm sure, that you decided to stay hunkering at Minerva, but believe me, you have not missed anything if you went to Tonga early. They are not having a good time of it up there at all. So you at least have got crayfish, and you can live like a king and queen. Not to mention the fact you can stake your flag on there and lay claim. All right. So, well, let's look at Tonga then, where gale force warnings are still in place. This is from Tonga Met. Still in place for the Hapais and Tonga Tapu, but a strong wind warning for the Vavau area, so a little bit lighter up there in Vavau. Now, our trough pretty much lies over Tonga. Expect heavy rain at times, and these will normally be in thunderstorms or towering cumulus. For the winds, Vavau east to northeast, 15 to 20, rising 25 at times today. Seas 2 to 3 meters out there in the open exposed water, and an easterly swell, a big swell, 4 meters. Now, for the Hapais and Tonga Tapu, different. East to northeast, 25 to 30, gusts 35 to 40. Very rough seas, 3 to 4 meters, and on top of that, a damaging easterly swell, 4 meters. So you don't want to be out in the open water. That's for darn sure. Now, 5 a.m. actuals, these are METARs from the airport conditions. Vavau northeast 10, a towering cumulus, barometer 1015. The Hapais east 15, they had rain a little bit earlier, barometer also 1015. Tonga Tapu easterly 30, rain, barometer 1016. I see a little bit more wind for Vavau on Thursday than what Tonga Met has to say. Looks like easterlies, maybe 30 knots early in the day, then a bit of an ease to maybe east 25 by dinner. So we'll see what happens there. I'm also seeing quite a bit of wind convergence at 700 millibar. That's at about the 10,000 foot level. These are two different air masses that are coming in, and they're clashing right around that 700 millibar level. So with big temperature differences, we're creating a fair amount of lift, and that is a big factor in prolonging the surface trough. So we not only have surface convergence of wind, but we've got middle air convergence as well. Over to Fiji, where I could pretty much make out the skeleton of a trough that's running right through mid-Fiji. Clouds are moving west to east, sort of. These merge with the active trough over Tonga. And as mentioned, the active trough is starting to drift west again to affect Fiji probably tomorrow, maybe late today, maybe sooner, who knows. You will if you're there. The area affected first will obviously be the Lau, and I would say for most of Fiji today, though, mainly fine, maybe some scattered showers here and there. Wind south to southeast about 10 to 15, favoring southeast a little bit later, thanks Fiji Met. Tomorrow, southeast 15 to 20 for the western areas, but east to northeast, northeast in the eastern half. Now, the radar loop this morning shows scattered showers, mainly over Kendavu, the Nasori area, Suva, Nasori right in there, western Poro, and some over the Lau as well. Now, I'll give you a few spot observations. Again, these are from the METARs. Undu Point, south-southwest 4, the barometer 1014. Northern Yasawas, east 9, 1014. Vanua Balavu, east 6, 1018 on the barometer. Matuku, Down in the south, southeast 3, barometer 1014. Ono, northeast 7 in that Kundavoo area, barometer 1016. Nandi, east 4, barometer 1014. So there's not much pressure gradient, as you can hear early today, and therefore that's the reason for the light air. And hang on here, drink of water. Over to Vanuatu now, where imagery shows very few clouds. We've heard the reports. Mesotroy doesn't see any. There's a bit of activity over the Banks area. Also showers today in the north. A better chance tomorrow for some showers. The winds, what there are mostly easterlies, quite light in the 10 knot range. Light and variable for Tanna to Anisha, no discernible direction. Easterlies tomorrow, I'd say, from the mid-group to the north. Lighter air from Tanna down through Anisha. And a few actuals I had this morning. Metars again, Anisha, northeast 5, Tanna, south-southwest 5, Afate, east 5, Melakula, southeast 5, Santo, southeast 5, and up there in Sola, guess what, southeast 5. Now, for Caledonia, New Caledonia, imagery does show scattered cloud from the Loyalties to the southern lagoon, but today, I'd say mostly fair, winds light and variable. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, variable winds in the 5 knot range, and it looks good through Friday, so those of you in New Caledonia should really enjoy the outer lagoon. It should be some excellent weather for exploring the Hilos. Saturday, though, I see a chance of showers, east-southeast in the 15 knot range. And some actuals for you, the outer reef this morning, east-northeast 5 knots. It's really very, very nice if you can get out there. Ile de Pan was north to northeast 5 to 10, and Nemea was reporting northwest 5 to 10. So that's it for me. Everything looks grand from New Cal, Vanuatu, most Fiji, Brim still in Vavau and Minerva, and will continue to be that for a while. We'll be looking for that trough moving west, so we'll give you the updates tomorrow. You probably will give me the update before that. That's it. Any questions come now. Here's the chief.
And it looks like from Whistler that flights and ferries have been cancelled for several days in Tonga, so they're certainly taking the weather fairly seriously there. And Mesotroy reports that there is a bit of QRM from Asia, so it's noisy up in your area. It's funny, I'm not getting it here, so not so brilliant today. All right, is there any further clarification or comments from anyone? Please call. I'm not sure if there was anybody there, but I will need a relay if there is. And I was just looking up, we were talking before about what is a Calamaxis. It looks like a sort of a lime, a citrusy type thing that is in Fiji. That's good, because they don't have much in the way of other citrus, do they?
No.
All right, is there any relay for anybody? Maybe I'm just hearing some of that noise as well, but I can't hear anybody. So we'll be back again tomorrow, of course. I can report now that there's 100% cloud cover here, that it's lighter. So nothing much in the way of stunning weather in this part of the world. All right, folks, we'll leave you in peace, and we will be back again tomorrow. Cheers all. And